72% of adults over 65 perform a nighttime habit that silently destroys their circulation. And the worst part? You don't feel it happening until you don't wake up. Here are the 5 things to avoid before bed at all costs. Going to bed too soon after eating. There is a quiet moment after dinner when the body begins its slow descent toward rest. The dishes are cleaned, the television murmurs in the background, and the weight of the day settles into the muscles. For many people over 60, this is when fatigue arrives suddenly, like a soft hand pulling them toward bed. It feels natural to lie down right after eating, especially when the legs ache or the back feels stiff. Yet this simple gesture, so familiar and so human, can become one of the most overlooked challenges of nighttime aging. As the years pass, digestion no longer moves with the same rhythm it once had. The stomach empties more slowly, the esophagus loses some of its strength, and what used to be a harmless bit of heaviness after a meal can now push upward, quietly disturbing the night. Dr. Shigaki Hinohara used to explain that the body after 60 becomes more sensitive not because it is weaker, but because it has carried a lifetime of work. The pathways that once managed food effortlessly now ask for patience. When someone lies down too quickly after eating, reflux can rise like a quiet visitor in the dark, pressing against the chest, nudging the heart, interrupting the breath. Many people wake in the night with a shortness of breath that feels frightening, unsure whether it comes from the lungs, the heart, or something deeper. But often the origin is simpler and more subtle, the pressure of nighttime reflux making its way upward. It is surprising how many older adults have lived through these moments without ever realizing that the discomfort did not begin with the lungs at all. It began with gravity, digestion, and the way the body changes its rules after 60. Remaining upright for a little while after the last bite can offer the stomach the time it needs to begin its slow work. For those who feel too tired to stay standing, a supportive chair can become an ally, something steady, something safe. Sitting for even a short while can give the body the ease it seeks and prevent those sudden midnight moments when breathing becomes uneven and the chest feels heavy. These adjustments do not require strength or discipline, only awareness of the body's quiet requests. There is a simple way to picture it. Imagine placing a heavy book on a narrow shelf. At first, nothing happens. It stays where you left it, still and silent. But with time, gravity pulls, pressure builds, and the book begins to slip. Going to bed too soon after eating works the same way. The consequences do not appear immediately, yet the weight eventually shifts and begins to push where the body is most vulnerable. Many elders have spent years believing these nighttime episodes were signs of deterioration, but often they are signs of a body asking for a kinder rhythm. When digestion is given the space it needs, nights become quieter, and the heart is allowed to rest in the darkness without interruption. And little by little, the small hours of the night stop being something to fear and become, once again, a place of peace. Sleeping in a room that's too warm. There are evenings when the chill of the air reaches the skin before the body is truly ready for rest. Many older adults feel this cold more intensely than they once did. Perhaps it is the slower circulation, or the quiet loneliness that settles in after the sun sets, or the simple desire for comfort. So, almost without thinking, the bedroom becomes warmer each year. A little extra heat, a closed window, a heavier blanket. It feels kind and protective, the way a parent might tuck in a child. Yet with age, warmth does not behave as it once did. What soothes at first can become a weight the body must fight against through the night. When the room is too warm, the body works silently to regulate its temperature. This effort is small, almost invisible, but it requires more from the heart and from the blood vessels of an aging body. The heart beats a little faster, the breath becomes slightly shallower, the night loses its depth. What should be a long restorative descent into sleep turns into something lighter, more fragile, easily interrupted. Many people wake with a dry mouth, a light headache, or a faint pressure behind the eyes, and never connect these sensations to the heat trapped around them. The science behind this is simple, yet profound. As the decades pass, the body becomes less efficient at managing temperature changes. Cooling down for sleep is part of the natural rhythm that signals the nervous system to slow. When a room is too warm, this signal is disrupted. The body struggles to find the quiet it needs. Blood pressure shifts, deep sleep becomes scarce, and the heart continues working long after it should be resting. The warmth that once felt protective becomes a quiet challenge for a body that has already carried enough. One of the most surprising insights is how often the feeling of cold at bedtime deceives us. Many older adults warm the entire room when what they truly need is warmth on their own skin. A blanket layered gently over the body, or a soft throw left at the foot of the bed, is far kinder than filling the entire space with heat, because a blanket can be pushed aside in a moment. A room, once warmed, does not let go so easily. Imagine an old coal stove in the corner of a workshop. When too much fuel is added, the fire does not roar. It smolders. Heat builds slowly, quietly, until the air becomes thick and heavy. A bedroom that is too warm behaves the same way. Not dramatic, not dangerous in appearance, but persistent in its effect. It fills the night with a warmth the body must escape from rather than rest within. In homes across the world, especially among those who sleep alone, these nighttime details often go unnoticed. People wake feeling unsteady or strangely tired despite a full night in bed and assume age is the only explanation. But sometimes the body is simply asking for air that is cooler, gentler, easier to breathe. When the temperature of the room supports the natural rhythm of the body, the night becomes lighter and the heart is allowed to rest in the quiet darkness it deserves. Staying still for hours before bed. There is a certain stillness that settles over the home in the evening. The sun fades, the chair molds gently to the body, and the quiet routines of the night begin. For many older adults, this stillness feels like a kind of relief. After a long day of managing aches, memories, responsibilities, or loneliness, the body simply wants to stop. And so a person may sit in the same position for hours, letting the silence hold them, letting fatigue anchor their limbs. It feels peaceful. It feels deserved. Yet the body, especially after 60, experiences this stillness in ways we often don't imagine. When we spend long periods in one position, the blood in the legs begins to settle. The calf muscles, once powerful assistants to the heart, no longer push circulation upward with the same strength they had decades ago. The blood moves more slowly, lingering where it shouldn't linger, creating a kind of quiet heaviness that may not hurt immediately but grows noticeable as the night deepens. By bedtime, the legs may feel swollen or thick, as if carrying a weight that isn't truly there. This subtle pooling can influence far more than the legs alone. It can make the heart work harder. It can make breathing feel just a bit more labored. It can make rising from bed in the dark feel unsteady. Many older adults believe this evening stillness is helping them rest, yet it often has the opposite effect. The body, when too still for too long, stiffens like an old door hinge that hasn't been opened in months. The back tightens, the hips lose their softness, the joints become slow to respond. And when the moment comes to lie down, the transition from sitting to standing or standing to bed becomes more difficult than it needs to be. It is not uncommon for someone to feel breathless during this simple change of position, not realizing that hours of immobility are responsible for the sensation. Even small motions, modest and gentle, can help circulation return to its natural flow. A household counter offering support during a few slow rises, the feet drawing quiet circles beneath a chair, or the legs lifting gradually to remind the body of its strength. Each of these is less an exercise and more a whisper that says, "I am still here and I still need you to move." These gestures can be done in silence, in comfort, without strain or effort, and they carry a remarkable effect on the rest of the night. To understand this more clearly, imagine the bloodstream as a gentle river crossing familiar land. When movement continues throughout the day, even in small ways, the river flows without hesitation. But when the body remains still for long stretches, the river becomes a pond. The water settles. It no longer travels to nourish what lies ahead. It rests too long in one place, and the landscape begins to change. In the same way, long hours of stillness before bed create a kind of stagnation within the body, quiet, unnoticed, but significant. There is no blame in this. Stillness often comes from exhaustion, from decades of caring for others, from a life that has demanded more than most people will ever understand. But when evening movement returns, even in small, compassionate doses, the night becomes gentler. The legs feel lighter. The breath deepens. The heart settles into its work with less effort. And waking in the morning no longer feels like climbing out of a fog, but like rising into a day that still belongs to you. There is a particular stillness in the late hours, a kind of quiet that settles over the home and brings every thought closer to the surface. During the day, life has a way of distracting the mind. Simple chores, passing conversations, the sound of a radio, the comfort of a routine, all of it keeps the deeper worries at bay. But when the lights go off and the house returns to silence, those same worries often rise like old memories that refuse to fade. For many older adults, this is the hour when the mind becomes louder than the night around it. Rumination is a gentle word for something that can feel heavy. Instead of drifting into rest, the mind replays the same scenes again and again, a conversation from years ago, an unfinished responsibility, a fear that no one else knows about. These thoughts do not shout, they whisper, and yet their whisper is enough to hold the body hostage. The heart does not fully slow, the breath remains shallow. The nervous system, which naturally lowers its guard at night, stays half awake, unable to surrender to the darkness. The body wants rest, but the mind keeps a vigil that no one asked it to keep. There is a physiological truth beneath this emotional experience. As night approaches, the body is designed to lower cortisol, the hormone that keeps us alert. But worry does not respect biology. It keeps cortisol higher than it should be, creating a state where drifting to sleep feels like trying to calm a restless animal. Many people believe they suffer from insomnia, yet the root is often something quieter, unprocessed tension that the daylight disguises. The bed becomes a place where unfinished emotions finally speak. This experience is especially profound for those who sleep alone. The absence of another voice, another breath, another presence can make the mind louder. A widow who spent 50 years beside a partner now faces a silence she never learned to navigate. A grandfather who once lived in a bustling home now lies awake in a room that feels too large. In these moments, anxiety is not a flaw. It is a natural response to a life that has shifted shape. One gentle way to ease this nightly burden involves giving the mind a place to rest outside the body. A small notebook on the bedside table becomes more than paper. It becomes a container. Writing down one concern, one decision to postpone, and one simple task for the next day is not about solving problems, but about releasing them. It tells the mind, you no longer have to hold this alone tonight. Something as modest as 3 lines can create a doorway to stillness. The heart responds to this quiet release with gratitude, slowing its rhythm in a way that feels almost like relief. A helpful image is that of a radio left on low volume. You may not notice it at first, but the constant sound keeps the room from ever becoming truly quiet. Nighttime overthinking behaves the same way. The noise is subtle, but it never stops. Only when the dial is turned down, when thoughts are gently moved out of the body and onto the page, does true silence return. For many older adults, the nights become a mirror. They reveal not weakness, but the weight of a lifetime carried with grace. And yet, with small rituals of release and the tenderness of self-understanding, the night can return to being what it once was, not a battlefield of thoughts, but a sanctuary where the heart and mind finally rest together. There is a certain tenderness in reaching the end of a conversation about aging and nighttime habits. It is the tenderness of realizing that nothing in the body happens by accident, and nothing in this stage of life is a sign of failure. Nights simply begin to speak more clearly. They reveal what the daylight hides, the rhythm of the heart, the weight of thoughts, the quiet strain of habits repeated for decades without a second glance. Dr. Shigeki Hinohara believed that longevity was shaped not by heroic decisions, but by the patterns that unfold in these quiet hours. He often reminded his patients that the night is a teacher. It shows what the body needs long before illness appears. When we begin to understand the night in this way, it stops being a place of fear and becomes a place of awareness. Many older adults assume that morning fatigue, nighttime breathlessness, or the heaviness of their legs is simply age tightening its grip. But age is rarely the culprit. More often, it is the small routines that no longer suit the body that has carried them. A late supper pressing against the chest, a warm bedroom asking the heart to work harder, hours of stillness turning circulation into something sluggish and uncomfortable, thoughts that wander into the past and refuse to settle. None of these experiences are dramatic on their own, yet over time they shape how the body meets the darkness and how it wakes to the light. The truth is gentle but firm. The night does not forgive careless habits as easily as it once did. Dan Buettner's work with centenarians shows a different picture of aging. In the villages and islands where people regularly live into their 90s and beyond, the nights are treated with quiet respect. Evening meals are small and unhurried. Conversation continues while the sky cools and the body cools with it. Movement does not end after sunset. It slows, softens, and becomes part of the winding down. Thoughts are not left to circle endlessly, because there is ritual, whether it is prayer, storytelling, or simply stepping outside to breathe the night air. These communities do not chase longevity. They allow it. Their nights carry a kind of softness the body recognizes. This way of living reminds us that aging does not take away our choices. It refines them, and the night responds to these refinements with surprising kindness. When the room is cool enough for the heart to rest, sleep deepens. When digestion is given time to settle before lying down, the lungs breathe without interruption. When the legs move a little in the evening, the blood returns to its path with ease. When worries are placed gently on a page instead of on the chest, the mind loosens its grip. Each of these simple acts restores a bit of control, a bit of steadiness, a bit of the freedom so many fear they are losing. There is no need for perfection. Aging is not a test to pass, but a conversation between you and the body that has carried you through decades of living. And like any long relationship, it thrives on attention, patience, and small gestures of care. What matters is not how dramatic these gestures are, but how consistently they meet the body where it is now, not where it used to be. The night, more than any other time, reflects whether the body feels supported or abandoned. If there is one message to hold on to, it is this: safer nights create stronger days. When the body rests without strain, mornings arrive with clarity rather than confusion. The floor feels firmer under the feet, the breath feels fuller, the mind feels steadier, independence becomes less fragile, and life, even with its aches and losses, feels more manageable. Before this moment ends, consider this quietly. In your evenings, where is there room for a gentler rhythm? The answer may be small, almost unnoticeable, but it can change the way your nights unfold.